Hey there, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Dorian. It's a great question. So Dorian says, I've found the no willpower approach very helpful, especially the power in the pause chapter. So this is a chapter in the little book, A Big Change. I also have a podcast about it, about having this pause, having a bit of space, as we talk about often here, between psychology, the thought or a feeling, and kind of what's next. So Dorian says, one question I do have is on thought. I don't want to take my negative thoughts too seriously, especially when I'm in a low mood. But what about positive thoughts? Should I take those seriously? Do I pick and choose which thoughts based on my own wisdom and feelings? If a positive thought gives a good feeling and a negative thought gives a bad feeling, should I be using my feelings on which thoughts to choose? Or if I treat thoughts as just thoughts and nothing more, just passing through me, does that leave you like a robot, void of any feeling and emotion? Do thoughts mean anything, since eventually they will all pass? So actually, Dorian, there's a lot of big, great questions in here. So let me just kind of speak to this a little bit. I'm not going to pretend to tell you definitively what to do, because that's kind of not where it is anyway. But I'm going to see if I can speak to this in a bigger way that might make a little more sense. So thought and feeling are the same thing. We feel, and I mean physically, emotionally, in terms of what our body's doing, symptoms, like physical stuff, again, emotionally, like in every possible way, we feel what we call thought. Now, again, thought here isn't just a sentence in your head. It's bigger. It's this energy that brings all experience to life. So that experience that comes to life through us has cognitive thought, verbal qualities. It has felt physical qualities. It has emotional qualities. It's all one big ball of stuff. It's all just life moving through us in that sense. And we're constantly waking up to it and feeling it and living in the experience of it. It is our felt experience, is all of that thought moving through us. That is useful in terms of like just seeing that that's how it works. I think that this is like, our mind wants to take that and then turn it into a lot of okay, so therefore, when I feel bad, hands off. When I feel good, go forward. We want to make these rules and things around it. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's supernatural. It's totally normal and human and common. And it may even be helpful at times. But I do just want you to see how limiting it is. So when we talk about we just feel life moving through us, pouring through us all the time, and we feel it in every possible way, and that is just energy. That's just energy moving through. We really want to put a period at the end of that sentence. Done. Because when we really sit in that, oh, this is what experience is, that's where it gets to go really deep for us. And we see things that are helpful for us to see. Naturally, we see these things that are helpful for us to see. And at the same time, it's okay that this happens. But what a mind wants to do is take that 20 steps down the line and make up a bunch of strategies and rules around it, and therefores and this and that. Okay, so let's just to say that's a little piece of this, Dorian, is it's not even about don't take my negative thoughts so seriously and do I take my positive thoughts seriously. The taking thought seriously piece is not a task for you. You don't have to take some seriously and not take others seriously. There's no to do in that for you. There's just seeing that as human beings, thought, feeling, energy moves through us all the time. Sometimes we take it seriously, other times we don't. That's it. So even now in that, that doesn't leave you in any bad position. It's a great position to be in, because again, this is kind of pointing to the fact that life lives us. When any of us are in what we experience as a bad feeling, we will do things. We will do things that help us kind of try to move in the direction of home. Sometimes helpful things, sometimes not so helpful things, but we will naturally, we're designed to just do things. We keep living life. We'll see things in that. So what you're starting to see, Dorian, is amazing, because you are starting to see, oh, when I feel horrible, that's the worst feeling, there is. I don't have to take that so seriously. Now that's amazing. But again, notice that what's really helpful in that is just a bigger understanding that thought and feeling and all of that is one big energy that moves through you, that writes itself, that changes itself, that isn't you, that you don't have to manage. That's where the power is, not in you deciding, I'm going to take this seriously and I'm not going to take that seriously, because we'll never do it. We'll never, ever, ever really be able to do that. And we shouldn't have to. We aren't here on earth, living life and then trying to manage and steer life to go in a certain way. Like, look at children. They don't do that. They're just in it. And we all have that luxury. We can just be in it. And it's so much easier to just be in it and know that it's moving and it's all okay and it's all safe when we have a bit of an understanding of just how it works. Not when we're trying to manage it, but just when we're seeing how it naturally works. So good, bad, negative, positive, all of this stuff about thought, feeling, what I want you to see and just sit with is the fact that it just does its own thing. It's all okay. It's all safe. You don't have to manage or fear any of it. You will fear some of it and you will try to manage it at times, and that's okay too. That's okay too. It's just flowing right through. Not our job to make it go a certain way or avoid or approach or take this seriously or not take that seriously. So you say, do I pick and choose which thoughts based on my wisdom and feelings? If a positive thought gives a good feeling and negative gives a bad feeling, should I be using my feelings on what to choose? So there's something really wise in what you're seeing here, Dorian. So, but again, I want to back you off of the you managing this process. This is not a process you need to manage. You don't need to pay attention in a very conscious, intentional way and say, oh, I feel good, so I should pay more attention over here. Oh, I feel bad, so I should let this go. Or like that will become a mess very, very quickly. There's not going to be much helpful in that. But there is something in what you're saying, because we are designed, you're already doing this all the time. When you put your hand on a hot stove, you don't hang out there for 5 minutes. You are designed to feel something and move away from it. Likewise, you don't see the cutest little puppy you've ever seen that's rolling around in the grass and the owner's saying, oh, she's friendly, you can pet her, and just walk by and say, you go into that experience naturally. You didn't have to make that choice. You didn't have to decide. You didn't have to say, how am I feeling? Should I? Shouldn't I? None of that. So really, this is what I want us all to kind of really see. Like our mind looks at it and it makes it look like it's, oh, I chose that. I chose to stop and pet the puppy. I chose to take my hand off the stove. No, life's just moving us forward. We're pulled and we're pushed and and it's all okay that way. And think about if we can know that that's happening. And of course, it'll feel at times like we made this choice or that choice and all of that. But if we know that really life is just living us, it's so much easier. I mean, it frees you up. It frees you up infinitely. And now you get to just experience things so much more. So I hope you can kind of get what I'm pointing toward there. It's not about us doing it, but it is true what you're saying, that when we feel bad, there's none of us want to sit in that. So naturally life is just kind of moving it along. The more we can just see how it works and we aren't in there trying to pull all the strings, the better it all goes. And the more we see, wow, life does have my back. Doesn't mean it always goes the way I want it to go. Doesn't mean I'm feeling the stuff I want to feel. But if I can go with this kind of natural current in life, you just see how it's pushing you forward and it's moving you in directions. And the more you see that, the more easily you go with it. Because the only thing that's ever in the way of us going with it is our thinking, saying, oh, I should be doing this or I should be feeling that. When we can take all that, we can just at least see. I mean, again, that's going to come up too. That's fine. But we can at least see, no, that's just what a mind does. That's just how a mind talks. But really, life is so much bigger than this little conversation in our head, and it's got it. It's so hard to put into words, but it's like it just frees you up to just be flowing along this river of life rather than having your knuckles turning white, trying to steer the raft in the right way or the wrong way, away from this or toward that. It's way too much work, and life is not that much work. So then you say, If I treat thoughts as just thought and nothing more, just passing through me, does that leave you like a robot, void of any feeling or emotion? Just the opposite in my experience, the complete opposite. We become robotic when we're afraid to feel. When we are pushing away and this isn't okay and that is okay and I can't feel that and I can't look over here, that's when we become robotic. That's when people get depressed, which means they just shut down. They depress, right? They shut down because everything is scary. That's when they get really anxious at times and they're living in this state of chronic anxiety because this is okay, but that's not okay. And I'm not in control of any of it. So, like that's where those states come from. That's where addiction comes from. That's where habits come from. When we're not okay feeling, we're not okay to feel what's there. When we are okay to feel what's there, when we see that thought energy is just life moving through us, just the opposite happens. You feel life more fully. The high, what our mind wants to call the highs and the lows. You really see that it's not a linear line where there's high over here and low over there. It's a circle. It's all the same thing. There's not much distinction between a super low low and a super high high anymore. A mind on a linear path we'll call it labels, and it'll look like they're polar opposites. Same thing. I just heard that recently, that distinction between a line and a circle. And that's such a beautiful description of what this deeper understanding does for us. It makes things less linear and more circular. Isn't that awesome? So, do thoughts mean anything since they eventually all pass? Meaning is what we give it. Then it's just my opinion now, but like, I don't know that there is inherent meaning in anything, but as human beings, we sure want to live in a world of meaning. And what's beautiful is that we will. You will give meaning to all kinds of things. So will I, all the time. But we're also so blessed to get to look in a deeper direction and say, wow, there's tons of meaning being given, and the meaning is being given by me in my mind, and that's always changing. I'm never locked into it. I never have to be victimized by the meaning that my mind gives something. I can't hold on to it. The more we hold on, the more we hurt. But we don't have to hold on. So we're always assigning meaning and giving meaning and feeling into that. And we get to see that that's just what a mind does, that it's all made up, and that there's such a bigger experience of life available beyond our little meaning. And that's, I think, as good as it gets. That's how we get to be human and feel all of that, but not feel like we need to manage it. Like your question kind of alludes to, we don't have to manage it, and we don't have to feel trapped by it ever, because it's always changing. So there were actually a lot of questions in here, Dorian, but they were great questions, really good, deep ones that I spoke to very briefly, given how good questions they were. But I hope something in this is helpful and kind of points you in an easier direction. That's really it. When I read this, it's like, what do I choose and what do I do? And if we all have room to see that there's so much less we need to manage than we are, I think things only get richer and more meaningful in an interesting way, and just have a deeper experience of life that way. So thank you, Dorian, for sending your question. Thanks everyone for listening, and I'll see you back here next Monday. Have a great week.